Cool. Hello, everyone. This is Pip Coleman coming in to do the Find Your Soul show. And as you know, this month's topic is about worthiness. So I have been calling in some special guests. And this week's special guest is Kate Gale, who is a good friend of mine and author. Welcome, Kate.
Thanks, Pip.
And we are going to have a bit of a chit chat about worthiness and self-worth and what that means to you and to us, because everybody, it turns out, I thought self-worth or worthiness was going to be like, oh yeah, everyone has the same kind of idea about self-worth, but no, turns out not. So it makes sense, I guess, that your self is going to be different to somebody else's self, and so your worth is going to be different to another person too. So yeah, so it's really interesting to have you in here chatting with me today. So how are you going? I know you're in the lovely Ballarat.
We are in Ballarat. He's just been plunged in to get another lockdown, but trying to find the positive side of it, because there's no point in complaining and getting down about it. We've just got to keep smiling and keep moving on. So
yeah, and that's part of there's people who, no matter how many things happen to them, are always like looking at the positive side of things. And you've certainly had a journey of that, finding the positive. Yes. So I guess maybe we should introduce a little bit about your story so that we know kind of where you're coming from as well. So perhaps you can share with everyone the essence of let's start with your new book. It's called Thanks for the Mammories. And it's about your journey and your husband's journey with cancer. So maybe you could share a little bit about the beginnings of that.
Yeah, so I'm a breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed at 27. So we're 13 years down the track now and healthy. So yeah. But yeah, I suppose my book is about how I lost my way and how I lost me along that cancer road. But it wasn't until my husband was diagnosed 5 years after me with kidney cancer that I realised that I wasn't okay, and that I had to go back to the beginning and find that Kate and start finding the positives in life rather than dwelling on all of the rotten lemons that have been thrown in our direction. So yeah, that's what Thanks for the Mammories is about. It's about finding me and finding the positives in life.
That's awesome. And I presume that coming into a space of finding yourself is going to incorporate that element of self-worth. And that's why I thought it would be really cool to talk to you today, because you've not only gone through your own cancer journey, but you've also gone through your husband's. So what would you say self-worth means to you in terms of your journey?
Self-worth, it's a really, really good question. And it's something that I've never actually sat down and thought about. So I was really excited to do this one. Yeah. So to me, it's about my opinion of myself, and knowing that, believing that I can have nice things, I can do good things, and believing wholeheartedly deep down that I deserve these things. So I suppose when I lost myself on my journey, it was more, it was all about me. And I know that sounds really vain, but it was all about me, and I'd lost believing in who I was. Like, I was just on this roller coaster, and I just kept going to do what I had to do to get past treatments and surgeries and everything, and then come out the other end, and it was just, I don't know who I was. So I didn't believe in myself anymore. So self-worth to me is, it's believing and knowing that I deserve so much in life, and but I have to go and get that. It's not just going to come to me. I have to do it.
Yeah. Does that tie in with a belief that it's worth living, that you're actually worthy of being alive? Because going through something like that, I would have thought would make you really question whether or not you're supposed to be here, and therefore are you deserving of this life. Was that something that came up for you?
Absolutely. Like, and I always say, oh, you got me then, Pip. I always say to people that have been newly diagnosed too, that anybody that says that they never say, why me?
Yeah.
I call them out on it, because of course you sit there and you think, what did I do to deserve this? Or why am I being thrown all of these curveballs? So believing that you can do it, and do anything, not necessarily just beat cancer, but anything in life.
Right.
Like, you've just got to have that belief. Dream big.
Yeah. Definitely. And underneath that is I guess a self-love as well, like a recognition that you have everything that you need, that you would want to keep going. I know some people get that diagnosis and they almost get resigned to, oh, well, this is it, this is the end. And it's kind of like they give up, because they don't, and I say give up in that they don't have anything to look forward to, because they haven't got a life that they feel like is worth living. And then there are other people who go, oh my God, no, this is, my kids and my husband and my family or my work or whatever it is, my passions, are worth me sticking around for,
I think my biggest thing, and this is where I sort of got lost, is when you get diagnosed and you're disappointed, apart from angry and every other emotion gets thrown at you, I think I was disappointed in my body. Like, it was like, why have you let me down? Like, why me? Why have I got this cancer? It's not that I was an unhealthy person, but it certainly made me sit back and think, oh, I could be doing better for my body. But I think I was disappointed in her, and it was just, you've let me down. That was a big thing, that you've let me down.
That's interesting. So how did you reignite that self-compassion, that self-love for your, that worthiness for yourself in that space?
I recognized that I was angry and I was, annoyed and disappointed in my body. And I realized that I have to do more for it. I'm not my body is my temple person. However, I did open my eyes to, my body gave me 2 beautiful daughters. I did that. I made that.
Yeah.
And you look at, just simple things. You look at your hands every day and think, wow, that's incredible that they can do what they can do. I was a hairdresser for 20 years, and these things, they were my bread and butter. They made other people feel beautiful. And I did that with my hands. And, your legs, they take you everywhere. They make you go places and stuff. So I really had to come back to, okay, I feel like you've let me down, but I can help you out, and I can be a better person by, putting better food in my mouth and exercising and, just being a healthier Kate. So, I had to turn that around.
Yeah, isn't that an interesting reframe? Because on the one hand, you kind of initially go to that, oh no, there's something wrong with me and my body's let me down. And on the other hand, your body actually told you that something was wrong. So it actually did you a favor by saying, things are out of balance here, Kate, like things are out of whack. You need to realign yourself. So it's thinking about those messages that we have, those physical messages as exactly that, guidance. They're like beep beep, like the warning light in our car, that flashing light that goes, hey dude, seriously, you need to sort out your shit. On whatever level that is. So some people get a little sore back or a little bit of a crick in the neck, or like I had a headache this morning and I was like, what was it that I did to deserve this? Yeah. And I was like, well, you did have twisties last night instead of dinner.
Carrot sticks.
And so I was like, well, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. So, drink some more water and don't eat the twisties today. It's one of those, it's a reframe. It's an opportunity to change your behavior. Like you said, you went, okay, well, no, I need to take better care of my body. So that's really cool. That's a cool message to have, rather than beating ourselves up. So do you think you were the sort of person who beat yourself up a lot before you got the cancer, and this just sort of amplified it?
No. I was just oblivious to the world. I was, like, when I think back now, like, I suppose because I've had that, what I call the kick in the ass, which is cancer, you appreciate so much more in life now. But back then I was just going through, I was a mum of little kids. I had babies. I was a wife. I was working as a hairdresser. It was just, life was just cruising along, and I didn't stop to think where I was headed, where I was going, what I wanted. Whereas now, every single day when I get up, I'm like, right, this is what I'm going for. But I wouldn't say I'd beaten myself up. It was just, I hadn't taken care of myself the way I do now. Not the way that I should have, because that's the past and I can't change what was there. But I'm just more aware these days of, like you said, if you jump on the scales and it's a kilo heavier, it may have been that KFC that you ate last night. But don't beat yourself up over it. Realign, get back on track.
Yes. And I love that is a really interesting mindset to have. I was talking to someone else the other day about that growth mindset compared to a mindset of, being very fixed, where you go, this is how it is, and I'm going to have to stay like this. And even if everything's going wrong, I stay like this, and it's so interesting to talk to people who are like, no, actually what I did was I pivoted and I changed the way that I was thinking about things, and I went, actually, this is a lesson and I need to grow from this. And there's a lot to be said for that, in that way. So when you when you talk about your new book, that Thanks for the Mammories is more about the journey that happened when your husband Bob got cancer. So how did that shift your self-worth to a different level?
I suppose that I had to stand up and be his rock, like he was my rock, and then I had to, like you said, pivot, and I had to be his rock. So I suppose knowing that the knowledge that I had from what I'd been through, that I could help him with. I knew that he deserved everything from me, like I took everything from him. So I suppose knowledge was the biggest thing, and the empathy, knowing what he was about to go through, what he was feeling, and the emotions and things. So it's the love that I had to give him, but I wouldn't have had that love if I hadn't been through what I had been through. So I just needed to pass it on and help him through.
Yeah. And I think that's really interesting too, because when you realize that you have a strength and you have skills and tools that you didn't have before, that you can share. So there's a self-worth kind of element of that, isn't there? That when you have things that you can share with other people.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting too. So then from there, you also, I mean, with your first book, you also were sort of involved in charities to do with breast cancer, or more breast cancer than cancer in general, because it was yours. Did you? How does that kind of contribute to your self-worth by giving to those organisations the way that you do?
When I was first diagnosed, I wasn't a religious person at all. Wasn't brought up with religion, but I sort of had this thing in the back of my head that there was something looking out for me. There was, just the way that my cancer was found and the way it all transpired. I just felt like there was something there. And I used to say, if you get me through this, I promise that I will give back as much as I can.
Yep.
And in my head, I suppose back when, my first book, it was all about how much money I could raise to help others that were going through it. And it wasn't until, Bob got diagnosed that there was a real switch that I just went, you know what, this isn't about money. This isn't about how much money I can put out there into the world. Apart from there are so many other cancers other than breast cancer. It was about awareness, and it was about bringing awareness to cancer and research, and how many people out there actually have this disease or have been touched by this disease, and that I don't want anybody to have to feel the feelings that we have in the past. So giving back, it wasn't about getting pats, and it's not about getting pats on the back for what I give or how much money I can raise. It's about knowing that I can make a difference in someone's life. And like you said, I've got the tools that I can do that every single day. I can make a difference in one person's life, well, then that's worth it to me.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah. Which is, the money is helpful in, obviously if they're doing research and that sort of thing, which is cool. But I love that that's shift that happened in you around, actually, this is about giving people that feeling of understanding and compassion and, all of those things.
But knowing someone's there to fall back on, knowing someone's there, a text message, a message over Facebook. Daily, I'm sending messages to people that I know are going through the journey. And it's just like, if I had got those when I was going through it, and like I did get text messages and stuff from friends, but the ones that I hold on to are the people that had walked that road already. And I'd looked at them and I held them up on such a high level because they'd been there and they'd done it and they'd got through the other side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I held on to, was like, okay, they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
So I'd love people to look at me and remember me as that person that, you helped me through that pretty crappy time just by sending me a message.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. And obviously I think the interesting thing about your book was, I've not been through cancer and I don't have anyone in my close family that has either, which is something that's unusual in this time with so much prevalence of cancer. So reading your book was really interesting because I was reading it and going, wow, this is really cool, because I could see how it gave me an understanding of what it was like to go through that process. And it gave me some tips, I guess, some tools of how to deal with someone who's going through that as well. So it wasn't just for people who are going through cancer, it was for people who have never experienced it and maybe don't know anything about it. So I thought that was really cool, the way that it sort of translated in that way.
It's an awkward position to be in and I still feel awkward, and I've been there and done it. Yeah. I'm actually writing a blog on it at the moment. It's taking me forever because I'm trying to work out the way to get it across to everybody. But what do you say to somebody that's had cancer or has been diagnosed?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But what are you sorry for?
Yeah.
Like, it's awkward for the patient and it's awkward for the person having that conversation as well. So, yeah.
So I think, that's so interesting. And we haven't sort of delved into that in other conversations, really, that those words that you would say. But I think that is really important for people to know. And that would be really helpful for anyone who's, even just if your neighbor says something, to be able to go, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about that? Because I remember you saying that to me in just a conversation that we've had before, where you were like, just asking the person how they feel, rather than you going, oh, that, you must be blah, or I'm sorry for that, like it's sort of, Whereas if you say to the other person, oh, wow, how are you feeling about that? Then they have the opportunity to share how it is for them, because they might go, I'm actually feeling great today, or oh, it's a lesson, or oh, actually I'm feeling really shit. And then you've got something to talk about, rather than just assuming that the person feels a particular way.
And just the question, how are you? It is so broad, but it leaves it open for that person to come back with you with true emotions.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's the same as, it doesn't have to be a cancer patient. It could be anybody in every day. Our emotions are up and down, up and down. And you might put your foot in it. But to understand that, okay, they're having a really crap day. I'm just going to tiptoe around this one, or I'm going to make a joke, or, just come in at people with a broad question, how are you? Yeah. It leaves the balls in their court, and they can tell you exactly how they are.
Yeah. And then it's holding that space for them, isn't it? That, and that's really interesting too, in terms of worthiness. If you feel like you're aligned and you feel like you're in that sort of centered, balanced, worthy space yourself, you can hold space for other people when they're having a tough time. You can be in that space of, the chaos can be going on around you, and you can be like, it's okay, I'm okay. So everything can sort of, revolve around me, and it'll be, you can hold space for people. You can honor whatever their response is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really cool. So if someone wanted to read that blog or get in touch with you and grab the book, Thanks for the Mammories, where would they go, Miss Kate?
So you can head to my website, kategaleauthor.com. Gale is Gale.
I'll pop that link in the info.
Or you can reach out on Instagram or Facebook. It's also Kate Gale Author.
Fantastic. So that's great. And it's been such a pleasure as always, and time goes by.
It does.
So thanks for coming in, Kate. And if anyone wants to join the conversation of worthiness, feel free to put some comments underneath the video and get in touch with Kate or myself if you want to ask any questions or share anything. That would be awesome. Thanks for coming along, and we'll talk more worthiness next week on the Find Your Soul Show. Bye for now. Thanks.